What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Hope everyone enjoyed week one of the college football season. There were some good games mixed in there, along with some not so good games, some funny games that we will be sure to talk about coming up. But thanks again for tuning back in. We're excited to keep talking about college football. Some ranking movement, obviously, after week one, nothing crazy. We'll get into that as well. Um, First of all, we just got to give it up for our boy Ryan. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not about how you start; it's about how you finish.
Won 19 grand on an 11-team parlay.
We'll talk about our standings right now after week one. Some good performances, some not so good performances. We'll also get to that. First, we want to remind our partner of the podcast, our sponsor, BetUS. So, even if you got sports books already registered, even if you don't, it's a great option to add for your bets, and new users get a great bonus. So if you sign up, you get 125% sign-on bonus. So if you deposit $100, you get an extra $125 from the site to bet however you'd like. Also, they accept cryptocurrency, which is huge for plenty of bettors. So if you don't want to use cash straight out of your bank account, go ahead and use some cryptocurrency. And for cryptocurrency deposit, if you're a new user, you get 150% sign-on bonus. So you put $100 worth of Bitcoin, for example, you'll get $150 of credit to bet however you'd like. So
Do they take Dogecoin?
I hope so. That'd be fantastic. We'll leave. I couldn't. I failed. I forgot to do this, but I'll be sure to put the link, our affiliate link, in the description. So if you sign up with an account, make sure you use our affiliate link so you get those sign-on bonuses, and also really helps out the podcast. So we really appreciate it. And yeah, so let's get into some of the topics that we were just talking about. Zach, why don't you go through our betting standings for DGen Central through week one?
So through week one, the results are Ryan is 11-4 plus 6.92 units. Like we said, he started 0-4 and then won 11 straight through the weekend. Nagy went 5-4 plus 0.65 units. Michael went 3-6, negative 3.49 units. Zach, you loser, went 2-9-1, negative 7.6 units. I suck. No one ever should take my picks.
Hey, it's early.
Week one.
Do or dies. Ryan was the only one that won his do or die. So me, Nagy, and Michael are all 0-1. Obviously,
What was your do or die?
North Carolina and
App
App
State.
State.
App
Each
State
team hit the
Oh, the game that went like 130 something points.
They scored like 49 points in the fourth quarter.
It was
I watched that
56
entire game. It was awesome.
They both covered the over themselves.
I enjoyed watching that so much.
I had Oregon plus 17. They like suck.
They were close.
Suck. They didn't even score a touchdown.
No.
They suck.
All right. So talking about this past week, there were some changing in the rankings. Nothing crazy, obviously, because there weren't a ton of upsets. But Zach, what were some of the upsets or some of the changes in the rankings we saw?
Really, the two craziest were Florida going from unranked to being ranked number 12 and now one ranking in front of Utah. And then Oregon, after getting shellacked by the Bulldogs, went from what I think were they 11 last week?
I think so they were 11.
11 to unranked. I mean, like they're still number 24.
I mean,
they're still number 24 on the coaches poll, but
who cares?
Hey, what do those guys know?
Bo Nix. I talked about Bo Nix last week. Like, I was kind of hoping being on the new team would help him turn a new page on his college career, because our boy Brett is a huge Ducks fan, but I couldn't imagine watching that game next to Brett if he even watched past like the first half. But besides that, we're going to talk about the two biggest games from this past week. Was obviously the Oregon-Georgia game. Any other notes you guys like have takeaways from that game?
I mean, doesn't Oregon have like a 5-star backup that they can play?
I have no idea.
I think they do, or they have like a 4-star. Like, Bo Nix sucks. kind of wild. He started his college career beating Oregon as a freshman at Auburn, then goes to Oregon and just gets freaking bamboozled through the back door by the Bulldogs. I mean,
full circle.
It sucks for what's his nuts, the first game head coach for the was it Lanning for Oregon to like just get housed by his former defense, essentially. Just get pummeled. I mean, they had no business being in that game. Like, absolutely none.
For me, I think this said more about Georgia than Oregon because, like, Georgia's always kind of been the consistent 10-win, 11-win team, make the playoff every 2 or 3 years. I was like, I knew they were good, but I wasn't ready to consider them a team that just reloads, doesn't rebuild.
Wait, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you owe Stetson Bennett an apology.
I do. He played well. And yeah, I think they're definitely. I mean, yeah, they're probably the second best team in the country.
Now, some people are saying that this year's Georgia team, like, they're like all in saying it's better than last year's Georgia team, which they lost money on defense. So I don't know quite how to say that. Like, what would be your guys' reaction? Like, I know it's just 1 week. Like,
it's too early to tell with that. I mean, that last year's Georgia team had like 5 guys going the first round from the defense alone.
Right.
I mean,
I'm not saying I agree with it at all.
College football, like one of the best defenses in college football history last year.
Right. I'm not saying I agree with it at all. Just kind of interesting. Like 1 week, people are already like almost blowing off one of the best defensive teams to ever play college football. So,
looking at their schedule, they very conveniently have their 2 toughest games at home against Florida and Tennessee. They go to Kentucky, but I'd be surprised if they weren't 12-0 going into the SEC championship game.
Well, any more notes, or you guys good? I mean, like I said, not much to talk about with that game, just total shit show almost. But Notre Dame lost 10-21 in Columbus. We talked about that game plenty on last week's podcast. No one really had any idea what was going to happen. And what'd that game do for you guys? Like, what was your main takeaways?
My main takeaways right away were the defense is going to be, I think, great all season. I think we kind of knew that going in. The defense would be strong. It's the offense. You don't know where it's going to go. Obviously, they couldn't even establish the run all game, and then we couldn't even do anything when it really came to the pass game after the first half. I think he started the second half like 0 of 6, maybe 0 of 7. And then going in when they were down 10-14, the offensive pass interference call pretty much, I mean, that solidified the game almost because they were on like, I want to say like Ohio State's like 30. And obviously that's a 15-yard penalty. It put them at 1st and 25. And from there, the defense actually did a pretty good job of trying to get the ball back. But then Ohio State just kept converting every 3rd down and got in the end zone with like, it was like 3 or 4 minutes. It wasn't even 3 or 4 minutes left. It was like 2, wasn't it? I think it was like 2 something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was a long drive by Ohio State. I mean, I think the injury definitely to Ohio State's receiver definitely played a part, but the guy that filled in for him was a stud as well. So, I mean, Ohio State's gonna run the table. They're gonna win the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan's gonna probably be their biggest game, obviously, of the season. But yeah, I mean, there's things to play on from Notre Dame. You got to see where this offense is going to go. There's not a lot of experience at the receiving core. I mean, really, even at the running back level right now, the offensive line, I think, will be fine. But I mean, I thought for sure their running attack would be better in the first game. But also, Ohio State was just, I think, also putting a lot of guys in the box, knowing they could not throw the ball anymore, and so they kind of had them at will of what was going to happen in that game. But I mean, I think there's promising things for Notre Dame going forward. Really, the next really, really big game in terms of like top 10 is Clemson in November. But even the BYU game in October, I think, is going to be a pretty big game.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Ryan? Also, quick plug for Ryan. I said this last week. He does Irish Insight. So if you want to plug your Notre Dame podcast real quick too, go ahead.
Yeah, Katie and I talked about this. We recorded on Monday night, but I kept procrastinating bringing it out, but it is now out on Spotify as of this afternoon. So we talked about the Ohio State recap, and then we talked about the upcoming game against Marshall. So anyway, the Ohio State game, Notre Dame they're narrowing the gap. I really do think they look like they belong. They're not as slow anymore. They look just as big, like in the trenches, like on the offensive defensive line. I'll give credit to Ohio State. Notre Dame needed to run the ball successfully to have a chance. They did a pretty okay job in the first half, which is why they were leading by 3. And then Ohio State just really clamped down. Like Zach said, I'm sure Tyler Buckner's not having experience, and Tommy Rees, I think, tried to just made sure Tyler Buckner wasn't going to lose them the game. So that's why they tried to run the ball as much as they did. But credit to Ohio State, they made the plays when they had to. CJ Stroud made some really unbelievable plays on the run, throws on the run in the second half in particular. And Notre Dame, I mean, like Zach said, they still have a lot to play for. I think even before the BYU game, they still have to go to North Carolina at night in a few weeks. I think that could be a game. Obviously, playing BYU in Vegas, if they can get to 6-1 or 7-1 against Clemson, after watching them on Monday, they're very similar to Notre Dame. They're stout on defense and they're very unpredictable on offense. So if Notre Dame can get their offense figured out, they have to run the ball. I think they can. They have a chance to go 10-2, or definitely 10-2, but I think they have a chance to go 11-1 and maybe sneak into the playoff as a 4 seed.
Yeah, I agree, and that's just the only bad position you put yourself in once you lose your first game is
one out.
Yeah, you kind of don't command your own destiny, because if there's 2 or 3 teams that with one loss in Power 5 conferences, we'll see how they tend to.
And Notre Dame is set up well because you saw in the ranking they're 8. Like if they would have fell from like 5 to 15 or 16,
yeah, like double
then
digit.
that'd be tough. But you can tell definitely compared to Oregon, they their loss was. I'm not saying this is a moral victory because Marcus Freeman said they're not playing for moral victories, but it's a good loss. If that's your only loss, let's be honest. It was 14-10 with like 4 minutes left. It was a 1-score game the entire game, pretty much. It was a close loss, and I thought they played okay. So I like where they're headed.
We did not mention this. What do we think about the 12-team playoff coming into effect in 2026?
I mean, I think it's cool. There's definitely good and bad parts about making this move. So I'm just gonna take it for what it looks like and wait.
I think it's cool for the aspect of like more impactful games. I'm just afraid when you have some of those 112, 211 matchups and 310, you're going to see some major blowouts.
Yeah, I don't think Zach, I guess that's kind of where we disagree. I don't think there's going to be as many impactful games, especially in November. For example, a conference championship game.
No, I'm talking about impactful games in terms of the playoff.
Okay.
Not the regular season. The regular season is kind of diminished because of the playoff.
I do kind of see both sides to get more football, which is I'm never going to complain about more football. But then, I mean, are we going to have another Georgia and Oregon game for the 2-11 or whatever that game was?
That's insane, yeah.
I think it's more football, but it's also probably a poor product on the field as far as.
I guess it's cool because you're going to have some non-power 5s sneak in out of the playoff. And maybe see what they can do. I mean, I guess that's cool for the aspect of like those schools and those kids going to those schools, because that's not something outside of Cincinnati last year that
I like Notre Dame can't host a playoff game, can they? 'Cause they're not in a conference. Is that correct?
I believe that's a rule. Is they have to be they can't be ranked in the top 1 through 4 if they're not in a conference. I think that's a rule. I'm not entirely sure though.
Because I thought it was the top 6 conference champions are ranked 1 through 6.
Something like that. I mean,
Not
odds
Power
are
5, not Power 5 champions. So you're not going to have your Cincinnati's or a Boise State or whoever. But I think it's going to be kind of cool, especially because you're playing in like December, second or third week of December. You're going to have someone probably like a Georgia or an LSU, someone from down south, probably having to go to up north in the snow. And they never do that.
Here's my thing is like, do you think if the top 12 would have been voted upon before Oklahoma and Texas decided to leave the Big 12 for the SEC, do you still think they make that move? If they know it's going to a 12 team, do they make the move to go to the SEC?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think they did it for the money.
It's the money deal. Yeah, it's total TV money contract with
the. Now they have a better chance of making it because it's 12 team. There's only 14. If there's only 4 teams, I don't think Texas is not going to sniff the playoff for a while. And Oklahoma, I don't think they're going to be in the. I'm sorry, a 4 team. I don't think either of them will be in the playoff as an SEC.
That's what I'm saying. If they would have just stayed in the Big 12, though, because then every year they compete at winning the Big 12.
Well, if that was their main concern, they shouldn't have left.
Yeah.
So that's I think it's just the money was there, and that's why they took it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you guys, anybody watching, has their thoughts or anything, be sure to comment down below. Let us know what you think about the new 12-team playoff system that could start in
2026 or earlier.
It could start in 2024, though, right? Like if they sign it.
I don't know, honestly.
I think they said it or earlier, but I don't know what year that was.
Okay. All right. So going on, let's get into week 2 football slate. Actually, real quick, I'm going to share what Michael's takeaways from week 1 were for college football. Real quick, wasn't able to join us, but he has 4 points. He says Tommy Rees is fucking horrendous. Most overpaid offensive coordinator in football. Number 2, the LSU game was hilarious. Couldn't happen to a bigger piece of shit than Brian Kelly. Number 3, Ryan apologized to the people for the Purdue bet.
Yeah, that was my I said in the group chat, that was my lock with the Millennium. And I was right until I didn't realize Jeff Brom had the time management skills of a first grader. You're up by 3 or whatever it was with 4 minutes left.
The end of that game was so
he ran
wacky.
He ran the ball 2 times in their last 14 plays.
Oh, once.
Once?
Yeah, once.
What are you doing?
And Michael's final point is Alabama and Georgia are far above everybody else, but that's not really a crazy take, I suppose.
If Ohio State's defense is if they're better than what people think, I think Ohio State can beat Georgia. They've got a better quarterback and they've got better receivers. So we'll see.
Zach, any final thoughts week 1?
I suck at giving picks.
All right. Well, speaking of picks, we're going to get into that pretty soon. We're going to talk about the 4 games we think are the most impactful or might be the most entertaining for week 2. We're going to go in chronological order, starting with the earlier slates, getting to the primetime games. So the first game we're going to talk about, we got Alabama going to Texas. What a matchup. Soon to be conference matchup.
Yep.
The Crimson Tide are favored by 20 points. The over-under is 65.5.
I'll start this off. Alabama's going to house them. I don't think it's even going to be a game. I think they're going to dog walk them. I just think Alabama is a way better team than Texas. Kean Ewers, this is going to be his second career start, obviously. He got off to a very slow start, and then he picked it up, obviously, in their last game. But you're not going to be playing Alabama for 4 quarters and be able to take your time in getting ready. So I really think Alabama is going to just absolutely demolish them in this game. Hammer the time.
Okay. Well, is this more because you bet on Oregon and they got shit housed at plus 17, or is
No, I would even if I would have like won that bet, I would still take out.
I know. I'm just rubbing it in a little bit. But just
yeah,
a quick
so
note, these 4 games we're talking about aren't necessarily on our slates. These are just the 4 big games we want to talk about. We'll give our total card at the end.
Yeah, but I think is Kirby Smart the only former assistant to beat Nick Saban? Is that accurate?
I don't officially.
He's got an insane record against his former assistant coaches. Obviously, Sark being one of them. People were saying before the season that Texas is back. They are not back. I don't think they're even close to being back. And this is my one piece of gambling advice for the entire year. Ride Alabama. I don't care what their spread is. Just take it, and you'll probably finish in plus money. So I like Alabama minus 20.5.
The call out to take Alabama and go 7-6 regular season, including the conference championship. We should tally that and see what it gets.
Well, they're 1-0. They're 1-0 so far.
I have no fucking clue either. Or I don't have a clue. I didn't mean either. But it's hard to bet against Bama when it's still pretty early in the season and you haven't gotten to watch these teams kind of show what they got and what their true ceiling is. This game is not on my card, but I would also bet Bama for the pure sake of not your bet being dead by halftime. That's all I gotta say about that. All right, next game. As I'm scrolling down, we are going to talk about. I need to find the line. Okay, Tennessee at Pittsburgh. The Volunteers are favored by 6, so Tennessee minus 6. Over under 66.5 at Pittsburgh.
I really don't know how to gauge this game. Obviously, I took Ball State plus 35.5. Shout out to the Cards. Had to just ride them. I ride them week 1 every year. I think I've betted them week 1 like 6 or 7 straight years, so I had to keep doing it.
0 for 6?
No, they've won a couple.
Oh, there you go.
They actually have the best record in like week 1 games against like ranked opponents in the past like 20 seasons.
Fire.
Obviously, Tennessee just shellacked them. They started the game on a flea flicker interception. After that, I just knew it was going to be a disaster. So I really don't know how to gauge this game. Obviously, Pittsburgh did squeak one out in the rivalry against West Virginia, which was a really good game. I think the line is Pittsburgh's home, and they're getting 5.5. So if I were to bet this game, I'd take Pitt.
So before we move further, are we using DraftKings or FanDuel?
I'm on DK.
Okay.
FanDuel. So somebody looking at just what's on my app right now. That's what
not
it says.
A sponsor.
I have 6.5.
So yeah, still, I mean 6.5 at home against anybody, I feel like is pretty good in college football. Yeah. But who knows?
We should probably.
It's back-to-back big games for Pittsburgh. So obviously, this is a ranked. Is this the only? No, there's 2 ranked matchups this week, isn't there?
There's 3.
There's 3. And is Texas ranked?
No, we have BYU and Baylor.
Oh, okay.
BYU is ranked now.
Okay. Well, if I were to bet this game, I would take Pitt with the points. But I feel like this is going to be an interesting one. My light is flickering. It's kind of freaky. Okay, there we go.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There's a hurricane in South Bend. There's a hurricane.
He's in Stranger Things, I think. Someone's in the Upside Down over there, but
All right, breaking
Uh-oh.
news real quick while Zach is figuring out the electricity. I was pulling up BetUS, their sports book, because we should be using their lines. They have raised their crypto bonus for first-time sign-ons to 200%. So extra incentive. Use if you sign on first-time user with BetUS, use cryptocurrency, you get a 200% sign-on bonus. So if you put in $100 worth of Bitcoin, you get $200 in sportsbook credit with BetUS.
Cool.
So I'm gonna pull up the NFL lines on here.
So I got Tennessee. I'm taking the points or giving the points for Tennessee. I think Tennessee. I think they have one of the best quarterbacks in Hendon Hooker in the SEC. I think they might be the third best team in the SEC, and I think that says a lot because you have Alabama and Georgia, obviously, as the two best teams in the country. But yeah, I just think Tennessee has a very good offense.
That is a strong take.
Six and a half on BetUS.
What's a strong take, Zach?
That's a strong take that they're the third best team in the SEC.
Well, who are you going to take over them?
In the SEC?
Yeah.
You've got Arkansas, Kentucky, and Ole Miss that are in Florida that are all in the SEC too.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like Tennessee.
Because of the 59-10 win over Ball State?
No. I think they have college football is driven by quarterback play, and I feel like they have one of the better quarterbacks in Hendon Hooker. So
fair.
And Tennessee's got the most passionate fans, bro, throwing bottles and shit. Like, you gotta love to see that.
And they're playing the NIL game now, so they might be in it for a long haul. So
they got that Peyton Manning money.
Yeah.
I
like Tennessee minus 6.5.
Oh, and A&M's in the SEC.
That I'm over them.
They're number 6 in the country.
Yeah, well, their nickname is Texas 8-4 for a reason.
You say so.
All right, next game we have got shit.
We got shit.
Kentucky and Florida.
There we go. I found the BYU game, but that's the last game. Kentucky, Florida. All right. Kentucky is going on the road to Florida, who just beat number 7 Utah at home in the swamp, still in the swamp week 2. Florida Gators minus 6, over under 52.5.
I am taking Florida, and I'm solely only taking Florida because in the offseason I saw a video and like a report that Will Levis, the quarterback of Kentucky, puts I think it's sour cream in his coffee. And that is just psychopath behavior. I mean,
weird. Yeah.
And for that sole reason, I am taking Florida in this game. I'm not betting it or points or anything, but I just can't. I can't be involved with a psychopath that puts sour cream in coffee. I mean, that's got to taste so bad. So
I gotta try it.
Oh, I'm not even a coffee drinker. I don't want to try
that. Ryan, what do you think about this game?
I got the over 52.5. I think that's a pretty good play. Awesome. I think the line's 5.5. I don't like that. It stinks.
I think this is a potential trap game for Florida. Hard not to be really hyped with your teammates and your
letdown game
in your school. So Kentucky,
this is a good rivalry game too. I feel like
it is. I think it's on my card, so we'll get to that. Obviously, you can probably tell who I'm siding with there. All right, last game we're going to talk about before we get to our cards. BetUS right now has the BYU Cougars minus 3 at home, taking on the Baylor Bears, over under 53.5.
I took the bait. I took Baylor in the points. Because I picked them to win the Big 12. And if they're going to win the Big 12, they'll take care of business here.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Baylor in this game. It would be cool to see BYU win because that'll just help Notre Dame's resume if they could win this game. I think Baylor will win it, but it'd be cool if BYU wins. I might put this onto my slate of picks later on in Saturday. It's a night game, so if I do really bad throughout the day, I probably
Or
won't.
if you're doing really hot, you got the hot hand.
We'll see. Yeah, we might have to ride with it, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Baylor in this game. But I hope BYU pulls the upset. Actually, it's not even an upset; they're the favorites. So I hope BYU does squeak it out.
Yeah.
Love the over. Love seeing BYU quarterbacks just sling the ball as far as they fucking can with no care in the world where it lands. So big scores or pick six, I don't really give a shit as long as it's points. So I like the over 53.5 there. So that's all the games we're going to talk about. Good luck if you're tailing any of our advice there. We're going to get into our cards now. Also, with the do or die, as Zach mentioned, Ryan was the only person to hit their do or die bet of the week. So that's basically our lock. We each have to give one a week. And if any of us lose 3 college football do or dies in a row, we have to do a punishment
Put sour cream in our coffee.
that is conceptualized by the other 3 people. So don't want to lose 3 in a row. Also, before we get into the last part of the show, we're also starting our NFL weekly podcast this week. It'll be coming out around the same time as this, probably sometime Wednesday night or Thursday evening. So be sure to check that out too if you're a huge NFL fan. It's the same exact kind of setup agenda as this podcast. So you'll enjoy it. We got some good games to talk about as well for week 1. So Michael did not designate his do or die pick in the text.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. Okay. All right. So Michael's picks are UCF -6.5. I have no idea who these teams are playing.
Louisville.
That's why we got we got Missouri +7.5. I did see who they were playing.
No clue.
Um,
Just keep going.
Yeah. All right. He's got Iowa -3.5. They're playing at home against Iowa State.
Rivalry.
Baylor +3.5. We were just talking about against BYU. He's also got Baylor money line. Big confidence on that game. +136 on Baylor's money line. He's got Houston money line +128 and Oklahoma State -11.5 points. And Michael's do or die to avoid going 0-2 to start the season is Army money line +114. I can respect the set of nuts on Michael to take plus money on the do or die. He does that. He's been doing that the past 3 seasons. So he's sticking to his brand. I appreciate it. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
All right, Ryan's going.
All right, so I got Kentucky. We already talked about this. Kentucky, Florida over 52.5. I have USC -7.5 for Stanford. Stanford stinks. Baylor +3.5. I will also add Baylor money line to my card. Alabama -20.5 versus Texas. I don't really understand. Maybe I'm falling into a trap again, but North Carolina continues their gauntlet of a non-conference schedule against Georgia State. I'll take them -7.5. I think that line is too low. Arkansas.
You're taking North Carolina
-7.5.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just sure.
Arkansas -8.5 against South Carolina. Notre Dame Marshall under 51.5. I think Notre Dame's defense is good. They'll keep the score low. Their offense, I think they'll probably score in the mid-30s. Houston, Texas Tech. Just saying those 2 teams out loud, I have to take the over, so it's over 62.5. Tennessee -6.5 versus Pitt. Memphis -4.5 versus Navy. Navy lost like Albany or some garbage team last week. We doing our do or die or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Give it now, yeah.
Alabama versus Texas over 64.5 is my do or die. Texas has to score to keep this close. which they won't, but I think they'll score in the mid-20s. Alabama's a lock for the 40s. There's your over.
Wow. That's some good maths right there if I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
All right, Zach, your turn.
All right, for week 2, can't do much worse than like 2 and performance week 1. So for week 2, we're gonna start it off. We got Miami, the U, versus Southern Miss over 51.5. We got Wake Forest minus 13.5. It wasn't that funny, was it, Nicky? Man,
Bro,
we got
you sound so sad, like these are losers already. Like you gotta at least have some set of confidence.
We got Wake Forest minus 13.5 versus Vandy. Sam Hartman is back to playing football. We got Ohio State, Arkansas State over 68.5. No clue going into this game what's going to happen, but I just feel like Ohio State's just going to put up some points after only scoring 21 against the Irish. We got App State versus Texas A&M over 54. Obviously, we just saw this past weekend. A&M does have a good defense, but I just need about 30 or 40 from A&M, and I need some crap points from App State. We got Iowa State under 40. Iowa just beat someone 7-3 off a field goal and 2 safeties.
Jackrabbits.
Yeah, and I don't understand that, how they don't 7-3 off a field goal and 2 safeties.
I saw that too. Oh my god.
We're going to take the under 40 in that game. We're going to take USC minus 7.5 versus Stanford. Only a little scared about that. I just saw a stat before we got on here. Stanford is like 16-8 against USC and against the spread matchups, so that kind of scares me. Western Michigan minus 6.5 at Ball State. We all saw what Ball State did last week. They're probably one of the worst teams in the MAC. Western Michigan was in the game against Michigan State for a while, and then Michigan State did pull ahead. And then my do or die for the week is when Bama just dog walks Texas, and it's just going to be a shellacking. I mean, they might kick Texas out of the SEC before they've even joined it after this game.
All right, so far for the do or dies, Ryan's got Bama over, and Zach's got Bama on the spread. I was just double checking, but fuck it. Who does Ball State play? They're on my card.
Ball State plays Western Michigan this week.
Yeah, so that game I got the over 53. Bounce back time. Hopefully Ball State can like put some points on the board. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman's homecoming. Hasn't played a home game yet as a head coach. It's time to lay out what you've done so far in practices. So I'm going to take the Irish minus the 20.5. I almost never take the Irish when they're minus points, especially when it's over 2 touchdowns, but fuck it. I'm taking Navy plus 6. They're at home. That's a mistake. Virginia plus 4.5 going to Illinois. I watched the entire Illinois-Indiana game. No team should be fucking underdogs against Illinois if they're also a Power 5 team. Even Vanderbilt, Illinois sucks. Sticking with UAB, I think I had their over last week too. It was like 62.5.
You missed about like half a point.
And they won 59-3. So I missed it. They scored fucking over 60 points. And I still missed an over. Unbelievable. So I'm going to take their over again, over 50. They play, I can't remember. Dog shit teams. Oh, no, dog shit team. All right. I'm going to take Kentucky plus 6.5 against Florida. I believe in the trap. And like we mentioned, it should be a close game. Like that's too many points for this matchup. So, but my do or die of the week is going to be Army under 54.5. I just didn't have full confidence in any of my picks, but you rarely see the over under in the service games tick over 50. So I'll take the under 54.5 and just pray for a bunch of fucking options and running and taking time off the clock. So that's what I got. Any other notes or comments about this upcoming week?
No, sir.
Let's not go 2-9-1.
Good advice. Number of plays this week, Zach?
I think I have 8.
You definitely have more than 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 8.
Wow. Never mind. All right. Well, thanks again for watching, guys. Again, if you want to watch our NFL podcast, we will be releasing around the same time. And please subscribe. I think we're like 6 or 7 subscribers away from 1,000. So if you're watching this, obviously you're on YouTube. Please subscribe.
Once we get to 1,000, Ryan will put sour cream in coffee and drink it.
Yep.
That'd be yummy. I'll do it too. Fuck it. So
I won't.
Zach won't. Michael might. But thanks again for joining. Again, if you have any comments of your own, be sure to leave it down in the comment section. We have the affiliate link in the description, and follow us on Twitter, follow our socials, especially Ryan's Irish Insight. So you can follow Nerd Aim content. I know we got a lot of Nerd Aim fans following the Victory Lap boys. So thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See ya.